Ladies and gentlemen, this is James Finley, your host for the PICKASIDE podcast, and hope everybody's doing well with the PICKASIDE Nation. Nation, we've been out for 2 weeks, regrouping, retooling, making sure we can get oiled up really good so we could get prepared for the interview that I had with Mr. Skipp Townsend. I am so glad that this brother allowed me the opportunity to sit down and have an interview with him. So very compelling. I hope you enjoy it. Sit back and relax. Man, Skipp has he has a journey that needs to be on the news. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Take care. See you on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, this is James Finley for the PICKASIDE podcast. And we are coming to you from the lab once again. And it's been a minute since we've been in the lab. But hey, we came back and we coming back strong, real strong. Because I have the opportunity to have in the lab today none other than Skipp Townsend, not Skipp Townsend, but Mr. Skipp Townsend. And I cannot even begin to tell you all the good things that you guys are going to have an opportunity to hear from Skipp about his past and all the many wonderful things that he's doing at this particular point in his life and the other things that he is doing for so many others that have gone down a path that may not have been what we think is normal, but we're so very grateful to have Skipp into the lab today. Skipp, how you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm grateful to be here, brother. Thank you for having me. I give all honor and praise to God. Just grateful to be alive. So thank you.
Man. I'm so like I told you before we started, man. I am so very thankful to have you in the lab with us today. As I mentioned to you, man, when your name comes up, you know, it's very hard to find people that when somebody mentions their name, and everybody always has something good to say. And that was the case with you, man. All the brothers and stuff who I've talked to and mention your name, man. Nothing but love for you, man, and much respect that you have in the community of South Central Los Angeles and beyond. So, man, much love to you. So, man, I want to dive on into it right now. So, why don't you give the audience a little kind of a background about Skipp Townsend and kind of where you've been and where you are right now?
All right. Well, Skipp Townsend, born and raised in Los Angeles, the middle child to 3 boys. My mother had 3 boys. She had 2 jobs, so we pretty much ran the streets while she was at work. Knew what time we had to be home. You know, we could stay out a little later in the street lights because she had a night job. Pretty much, man, just distracted my whole childhood. It was dysfunctional. You know, I was searching for myself. At an early age, I wanted to be Chinese, man. I wanted to be Bruce Lee. We went to the Bruce Lee movies and we'll watch them over and over again. And, with the rise of the Crips and the Bloods, man, we couldn't go to certain places. In Inglewood, couldn't go to the movie theaters there. By the time I got to Inglewood, I want to be black. I want to be a pimp. I wanted Superfly and The Shaft and all those movies. But it's just growing up, man, it was really dysfunctional in South LA during those times. So I gravitated to different stuff. You know, for a while, I wanted to do street racing and low riding and mess with cars. And finally, eventually, man, when the crack era hit, that's when I completely turned bad all the way and started making money and was in the streets every day. And kind of, I tell people at that point I was spiritually dead. You know, I was like, I didn't have a direction. I didn't have a purpose. I wasn't connected to my family, to God or whatever. I was just connected to making money and being in the street. So
Skipp, let me start you with this. People don't realize, especially people that's not from Los Angeles, you know, we both around the same age. Give the audience just a little taste of what the 80s was all about, especially them early 80s in the streets of Los Angeles, because, I'm a product of Crenshaw High School, like right in the heart of all of that, so as I'm walking to school and walking home from school, I'm seeing all that stuff, all over the neighborhood. So give everyone kind of a taste of what that was like during that particular decade.
Man, so in the 1980s, it was like being in a war zone, brother. It was 1979 kicked off probably one of the biggest wars between Crips with A-Trays in the 60s. So for you going to Crenshaw High School, it was a time when the shooting started happening.
That's right.
People had handguns and shotguns. We hadn't got to the AKs and the SKSs yet, but it became really territorial, and it became difficult to be neutral or not a part of the foolishness. So it was difficult, man. It was like fights. It was fighting almost every day. So
Yeah, when as I'm going to school at Crenshaw during that particular era, and I so remember my mom in the car telling me, because I grew up off of 61st and West Boulevard, and I was supposed to be going to Palisades. I was not supposed to be going to Crenshaw. And the route that she told me to go, you know, the very first day of school, because she told me, I want you to walk up 52nd all the way to West Boulevard, son, and go left and just come home. When you get to 61st, just come on up to the house. First day of school, I go down 11th Avenue,
oh no,
and I
nobody
walk
told you
down.
not to make.
Yeah, it told me not to do it. I go down 11th Avenue. I get to Slauson, and at that particular time, where Popeyes is now, behind
Right.
Popeyes, it used to be this place called Slauson Donuts. At the
Mhm.
particular time, it was a donut shop at the end of that little shopping center. And I come from Valley School, so I don't know anything about the gang life or this and that. I'm the product of a preacher's son. And so I'm on the football team. So as I'm walking up Slauson, man, here come about 14 rolling 60s. One came over, asked me what set I was from, and I'm like, man, I just play ball. What are you talking about? Man, he turned around and whistled, and man, they just come out of nowhere. Thank God at that time I had some speed on me, and I juiced it all the way up to West Boulevard and hid at that Lutheran school, which was next to Pup and Taco.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
so I had a quick education of what the streets was all about. Come to find out, one of them cats played on the football team with me. And the next day I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And, he was like, oh, that was you? I was like, yeah. From that point, I never had no problem ever since. But, man, I saw a lot of destruction, outside of the campus, people getting shot, people getting beat up, man. So it's really strange how people outside of Los Angeles really don't know how the 80s were during that particular time.
Well, a lot of people, man, want to always say what they would do and how they would deal with stuff, and they want to blame the people. So just like you said, man, everybody wasn't a part of it. So it's really hard to say what they would have done if they wasn't there. So
Right,
man,
right,
I'm glad you had another channel, another avenue, but you also had guidance. A lot of people didn't have guidance in their house. So
right, right. So as you was transitioning through the 80s, so what was going on in the 80s where, did you have an opportunity where you had to get arrested or anything like that, or just were you free from all that?
oh no, man, I got arrested several times. 1977. I was breaking into cars. Somebody taught me how to use a screwdriver, so I was always doing something, man, getting the block punt radios or whatever it was. And that's what I said. I was hanging out with guys who had cars, and that was my only thought, man. I'm gonna get a car and I'm gonna be able to do what I want to
Right,
do. And
right.
so I was trying to avoid all the gang banging, the foolishness. I did everything I could, but I guess it was probably like 1980 when I started really leaving the porch and walking, getting further into different areas. And,
Hmm.
I started meeting people. When I started meeting different people at different hustles, oh, that was it. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start hustling. I'm going to start making my own money.
Yeah. During that time, was there anyone on the streets like how you are right now?
Yeah, honestly, there was a guy named Tony Massengale, who came out of
Yeah,
Pasadena.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Tony Massengale was a heavy set guy that went to Cal State LA. And, he came around, he had two station wagons. So he would pick up people from Dorsey High School. Then he picked up a team from Crenshaw High School, and he would take us and try to teach us how to do mock interviews and,
Yeah.
how to, just things that would really help us, man. But man, I was so disrespectful, man. I would tell Tony that we don't have food at our house so he could buy me McDonald's. I sent him all these sob stories or whatever, but I did not pay attention
Yeah.
to Tony until I became older. So there
Right.
was one guy, but it wasn't a lot of people like that.
Right. So as life goes on, you go through that area in your life where there are things, you're getting into trouble and this and that. So when did that aha moment or that light bulb moment come on where you was like, you know what, man, I'm done with this. I have to kind of get away from this because there's a different lifestyle that I want to kind of live.
Well, it was two aha moments. The very first aha moment was April 1998. I'm in LA County Jail and I'm facing 2 life sentences, followed by 6 years. And as I'm going to trial, I'm starting trial. I, get the word that my father had passed away, and I
Mm,
just felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to in there. Everybody in there was like, "Man, just lay down, go to sleep." And the deputies came and got me and took me to the hole. My rewards for my father being deceased is they put me in a hole, made sure I was in isolation so I wouldn't hurt anybody or hurt myself. So I knew then, I was like, man, I'm around the wrong group of people. I don't want this to be my life. So when I was freed from that, what I did is I started towing for a company called 310 Motoring. So we were
yeah.
doing all the music videos. I put together the Monte Carlo for Denzel for training day. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, I got it made. I'm living my dream or whatever. But I felt as if I was working for the money. I wasn't working for satisfaction or fulfillment. I didn't feel like I was helping anyone. And
right.
when I heard a brother named Looney, Ronnie Barron, and I watched him grow up, I heard him talk about developing a desire for success. And when he said it, it sounded like he came from some college, Cal State something. And I started gravitating to him like, man, where are you getting this from? And he told me to stop running from a guy named Bo Taylor and Jim Brown, the American program. So, they were Jim Brown and Bo Taylor were working side by side at the time. And that
Mm,
was the second aha moment when I said, okay, the first aha moment, 98, said I got to do something different. But the
yeah.
second aha moment in 2006 was, okay, now I have something to do. And I
Yeah.
started working with Jim Brown and Bo Taylor and became part of Unity One and the American program. And my life changed from that point on. And I
That,
knew it too. And I
yeah. That,
told people, I said, my
yeah.
life is about to change. Either you
That's
come with me or I'm going to leave you.
it's something about I have so many partners, man, that been facing serious time, and they've been blessed. I don't want to say luck. I don't believe in luck. They've been blessed, to have things go to a different route to where they didn't get that time, and they've been able to kind of utilize their time, that blessing that God has given them, and they've been able to do a lot of good things, such as yourself. So
Right.
right now, where is your passion at, and where's that passion come from that you have right now with what you're doing?
Well, let me just be clear that my passion changes all the time. My first passion was just to stop the gun violence in the community. These guys are running across the street shooting each other, and they pretty much are related or grew up together. That was the first passion. Then the second passion was to help them get jobs. And with that, I found out that a lot of them were abandoned, a lot of them were hurt, a lot of them had been molested. A lot of them had reasons why they were smoking and drinking. It wasn't that they just woke up. One guy said he lived down the street from his mother, never lived with her. He always lived with his grandparents. So that sense of abandonment led me to my passion of doing trauma-informed care. So I went back to school, started studying that. But then my passion took me into the prison when I started doing reentry. So, I chase my passion, and there's absolutely no funding and passion. I don't get paid for all the things I'm passionate about. So where I am now, what I'm serious about is helping everybody get employed. So I just finished a group of guys who came through my organization had just built the Ram Stadium, the SoFi Stadium. They built the
Okay.
Kaiser in Baldwin Hills. They built the soccer field on King and Figueroa, and we're in contracts now, negotiation with Destination Crenshaw. They're going to build the platforms and the pocket parks that are going from Crenshaw, from Slauson to Vernon,
Mhm.
to show the Black history, the rich Black history in this community. We're also talking with the Clippers. They just hired Turner Construction to build in Inglewood, and they
Right.
want to know, can I get local hire? Can I get the Inglewood residents to help build that? So my seriousness is in saving lives every day. And the way I do it is through my passion of bringing people together. So it's kind of, I get paid to do what I love to do. And a lot of the things that I don't get paid for, I still love to do it. So I just keep doing it.
And that's why, man, I have to give you a tip of the hat, man, because for myself, my light bulb moment came on when I saw that knee to George Floyd's neck, and when I saw the life taken out of that brother, and I've mentioned it many times on my prior podcast, and I found my passion through a tragedy, and which is why now I have the Pick a Side podcast and the Pick a Side organization, which is something similar to what you've been so very successful in doing. So I totally understand. When you talk about that passion, is because your passion is just something that's just inside. It's in your blood, and
Mhm.
yeah, you want to be compensated for certain things, but that's just not the important thing, because you just want to make sure that you can get to as many people as you possibly can. So my question for you is like, so when you get someone that's just getting out of prison, uh so many times, I don't know what the percentages are for folks going back in, but it's kind of hard when you go to your PO, and you got to get a job, and brothers go in before making a lot of money doing whatever they was doing. When they come out, they get these jobs at a McDonald's or a Taco Bell or something like that. But you, man, you seem to be getting these brothers and sisters like great jobs that the average person that may have went to school or trade school would be getting. So, man, so how fulfilling is that, man, when somebody just gets out and, man, you see them striving now, man, they just totally redirected their lives, and, they able to buy a home, or, man, how fulfilling is that to you, man?
Man, it's real fulfilling because when we walk in a room, what society sees is, okay, these are carpenters and electricians. But what I see is I have a rolling 60 Crip who's a superintendent sitting next to a six deuce Brim. And you went to Crenshaw, so you know what that means, man.
Yes, sir.
That they're separated by Western, and this guy's electrician, seventh year electrician, and this guy's a fifth year carpenter, and they taking pictures and they eating together and they're friends. So
Man.
what I see, the fulfillment that I have is the world wouldn't even know how much I be feeling like I'm the man. I feel like I'm the man when I walk through and I see all the Crips and Bloods in the room and they tired and got their boots on and they talking about work, and not only just going to work and coming home and feeding themselves and their family and having the full medical, dental, vision benefits, but also putting them in a position of power. So that after 7 years, okay, now you are a foreman, a general foreman. So now you can help people the same way I'm helping you. Then they put themselves in a position of power where they're running work. We got guys running work now who came through our organization years ago, and that's so fulfilling, man. It's
Yeah.
it's a feeling that I can't even describe.
Skip, I think it's so important of what you just said, because our folks, I'm talking about the African American community, um, sometimes when we get to a point of success, we don't want to show others what success is. Sometimes we want to be very selfish and sit on that. And I've always felt like it's our duty to, when something's been instilled in you of something that's of success, that
Mm.
we should be able to go back and give or teach that to someone else. And then it's just a generational thing. Hey, you teach it to this person, you teach it to that person. So, man, that's just great. Why don't you tell us about the organization that you have that's going on right now, that you are the CEO and co-founder of, which is Second Call?
Well, second call started the way I said back in the days. I just wanted to stop individuals from shooting each other, but it morphed into much more trauma-informed care. But I was getting everybody a job, and they would show up high, they would show up late, they'd work 1 week and quit, and that's when I had to dive into the aspects that they were running from. So it's easy to see what they're running to, but what I had to stop and identify, what are you running from, and let me help you with that. There was another guy named Big John Harriel, who at the time he was in his 13th year as an electrician. So when I connected with him, he was like, man, first of all, stop getting them jobs. A job is a journey of a broke. You know, they're going
Oh,
to be broke after 6 months. They're going to be broke after a year. As a matter of fact, they're working for someone who is only interested in what they can do right now. You know, he
mm,
says, Skip, if they fall off a ladder or if something happens to them, a car accident, they're fired. It's just
right.
simple as that. So let's build them a career. So what we've been doing is helping individuals learn how to work with their hands. Because even if I get into an argument with a guy who's been an electrician for 7 years and we're not friends anymore, he cannot give me back the information I taught him how to work with his hands, or the carpenter. So this
Right.
is a skill that they could take with them to Kansas City. They can go to New York, they can go to Florida. If they know
Man.
how to work with their hands and they become a journeyman, that is the most important thing. But what's even more important than that is we help them be healthy people. I don't want to get people working just because they come from the community or because they're black or because they're local hire. I want the most healthiest people,
Right.
because the same thing that'll make me laugh can make me cry. So,
Yeah.
you know, we talk about triggers, we talk about low self esteem, because if I have issues that I've buried up underneath for so long and haven't dealt with, when I get to work and the boss calls me out my name, I might hit him, or I might not hit him. I might go home and hit my wife.
Right. Right.
So we
Right.
want to make sure that we're building these life skills in individuals so that no matter what the challenge is, they'll be able to overcome it. And we provide, like, we're a wolf pack.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
wolf is only as strong as its pack. So Second Call's nickname is the Wolf Pack, because we want people to feel like they're a part of. It's a round table. There's no big eyes and yet little U's. You know, everyone has the same respect. And also the reason why we chose Wolf Pack is because, you know, a tiger, a lion, and a bear are stronger animals, but they also put on a skirt and dance at the circus. You'll never find a wolf dancing at the circus.
That's
So
right.
we take it serious what we do, and we help each other.
That's cool, man. That's so cool. That's cool. So listen, right now we've had a lot of stuff going on in the neighborhood. You know, with the police. Uh, and this whole 2020, man, has been a year like no other for me. And I don't know about you, but for me, we started out with Kobe getting killed in the car accident, man. Then we go to pandemic. I've had a real close childhood friend of mine that passed away, just from nowhere. And then it's just been this one thing after another, after another, after another. So the tensions now that's developing to the neighborhoods after the George Floyd incident, then you have the Jacob Blake situation in Wisconsin. Then you have the situation just happened over about 2, 3 weeks ago over in neighborhood of 96 over in Westmont. So what's the climate now in the hood right now?
You know, it's sorry, I'm sad to say this, but those things needed to happen to wake up so many people. You know, George Floyd needed to happen. Jacob Blake needed to happen. And you're talking about Dijon Kizzy,
That's
who
it.
they're saying now they're saying that Dijon was picking up a gun when actually he was running. You know, so these things needed to happen. I was at a protest today where people were rallying saying Trump 2020. And what I did is I watched the sheriff walk through this was in San Dimas though. So
Oh, okay.
I watched the I watched the sheriff department intermingle and interact with those individuals. But when there was a protest on Imperial in front of the sheriff's station, I was there and I captured that they had snipers on the roof. They had what do you call it, the military style outfits, the helmets on, the riot gear, and and they never came to have a conversation. I asked some of the organizers, have they talked to you? And they said, no, they haven't said anything to us. So it's real obvious how they treat the community a lot different. When Dijon Kinsey was killed, they had a story. They said, oh, he stole a gun in Vegas. He's on probation and parole. He just did 3 years. They had all the negative stuff to put out into the community. But when the deputies were shot, the first thing we heard is, well, she's a mother with a 6-year-old son. And the
Yeah.
other he's a son, and he's his fiance, and he's only 24. And so we hear all these wonderful things about the deputies, but we hear all these horrible things about the individuals that they hurt in the community. So it's a us against them situation right now. And I don't sing the praise of LAPD, but I do say that they do come to the table and talk to us. They get it wrong too. They get it wrong. LAPD gets it wrong almost every day. But the
Yeah.
one thing they will do is they will come to the table and they will address the community. They will
Right.
see what it is that happens, even though they hide a lot of stuff too, but they give us a better feeling of communication. Whereas the
Yeah.
sheriff department is straight out at war with the community. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to deal with it when the supervisors are saying, hey, this sheriff has to go, when the mayor of Compton is saying, hey, this sheriff has to go, when not just the community members see it, but the politicians who normally back law enforcement, they're saying, no, this time we got it wrong. So
So
tensions
so
is in the
so
community.
Skip, in your position, man, and I get so frustrated with this. So someone in your position, and you have young people, the generation Z's and a few of the millennials that they want to protest, but they also they want to do some damage. So what is your voice to them in regards to, hey, listen, we got to just protest and do it? What's your message to them?
Well, I mean, the number one thing is that people are going to tell them that they're the next leader. And what I do is I tell them that that's false. They're not the next leader. They're the leaders now. So because of their age, because of the mainstream media, because of the music, because of all the educational pieces, everything is aimed at the younger people right now. So actually, we need them to lead. If we look at Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, none of them made it to 40. They were young when they were in there. They were young when I think Malcolm X might have made 40, but he didn't make 41. But, all of these individuals were young when they decided to lead in whatever fight that they led in. So my message to the young people is that, I'm 56. I'll be 57 in a couple months, is that we're not taking over. And, I saw this too. I don't know if you remember when everybody came together after Nipsey Hussle was killed.
Yeah.
So there was a big meeting, and in this meeting, I'm sitting in the meeting. I'm like the oldest guy in the room, and one of the older guys from Rolling 60s came in, and he sat down next to me and got to showing me how he messed up his foot. And I'm like, man, it's not time for that. They're over there talking about peace. You need to go sit over there and talk with them. And he said, nah, they got it. They all right. And that let me know that, you know what, I don't always have to have the right something to say. I don't always
Right.
have to implement something. What I have to do is support these young people. I have to
Yeah.
be there to support them and let them lead, because it's their turn. It's the 40-year-olds, the 35-year-olds. It's their turn to
Yeah.
take the initiative to drive the bus or whatever it is we're doing.
So as you get older, as I get older, I'm 55, and you know, there's a certain amount of respect that you've earned. You know, the popular term is street cred. However, but not so much a street cred, but man, you've earned the right to be able to get in front of our young gangsters, and you've earned the right to be able to go and travel into just about any neighborhood that you want to travel to talk to these young men. Uh, how is it? Do they have a respect for others other than people of yourself, who they know that's been on the battlefield, and how does that work?
Man, the one thing that I've always taken with me is the fact that I am doing the work of God. I don't work for the city. I don't work for the county. I don't work for, the co-founder of Second Call. I work because this is God's work. And I've been able to buy pizza. I buy like 2 or 3 pizzas and a bucket of chicken put it on the top of my car, and I get guys from everywhere who come out and look at me and say, I'm not with it. I'm not going over there to be their friends, but they sit there and eat the chicken and bite the pizza and talk to me. So I tell them, I said, man, I don't want to force you to go over there and be friends with somebody you don't like. I just want you to talk to me. I just
Yeah.
want you to tell me why. So
Yeah.
as they eat the chicken and eat the pizza, I said, well, who's the worst person over there? If I can get who over there to stop doing what he's doing, who would that be? And they tell me who to go talk to in the next neighborhood. So that's how I
Yeah.
start building relationships. So now I'm showing up with a couple of pizzas and some chicken over there, like, hey man, let me talk to you. And then a lot of people run from me. But the one thing that, I've always gotten myself ready. Like, okay, one time I'm gonna go in one of these neighborhoods and they're gonna be disrespectful and they're gonna try to chase me out. And it just hasn't happened yet. Even though I've
Yeah.
been ready for it, like I've been like, okay, I'm prepared. Just like when Dijon Kinsey was killed, I had a lot of black and brown people together, and I said, you know what? We about to get this food, this free food. Let's go over there. And we went over there and put up a tent and started giving out free food, and the community loved us for it.
Yeah.
Loved us for it.
Yeah, man. That's
So
we
as long as I'm following God's orders, man, He's been looking out for me. So I've been all
listen,
right.
man. You preach you preaching my language right there, man. Because as they say, if God be for us, who can be against us, man? And that's definitely, man. Like I said, man, much love to that, man. Because I can only imagine we see one thing on TV, but it's a whole nother thing, in person, on how it really is, man. And everybody can't do what you do, because everybody have a gift to do certain things. God just have instilled in you a certain type of gift. And so, brother, man, please, man, from the community, myself to you, man, keep up the fight. So, man, listen, let's just transition for a second. So, uh, you've recently been portrayed, uh, uh, in yourself in a role. So let's tell us about the that side of what's getting ready to happen for you.
Oh man, so it was a movie. I think it's streaming now at prideinunity.org. But the movie was entitled Baby Gangster. So it's really, when people see the movie, they think it's one of the average boys in the hood, men of society type movie, because there's a lot of individuals who are following that negative road, that negative footsteps. But the only difference in this movie is, it shows the violence, but it also shows the truth. Whereas
Hmm.
when individuals are in the alley and they're about to go and retaliate because someone slapped someone's sister or stole
Right.
someone's gold chain, now I show up and I talk reason to the
Yeah.
individual. So I portray myself. I'm in the alley, and they did exactly in the movie what they do in the streets. One guy says, "Man, tell him to get away from here. He's old now. He ain't with it." And then the other guy's like, "Nah, I love you, man. I love you, homie. I appreciate it." He said, "I'm always going to respect you when you come around." And I said, "Okay, I
Hmm.
love you too." As soon as I turned my back, they grabbed their guns and went shooting anyway. So it's the reality of what really happens. But the writer of the story, he wanted to show that. So when they
Yeah.
went and shot up the other neighborhood, the same thing happened. So there were guys of my caliber over there who were saying, "Hey, let's give us 24 hours. We know the
Hmm.
guys on the other side who you guys are getting into it with. Let's see if we can bring them to the table." And they did the
Yeah.
same thing. They said, "All right, y'all got 24 hours." And as soon as the guys left, they went back shooting anyway. So
Man.
even though it's a shoot 'em up movie about the Crips and Bloods in the city of
Right.
LA, the difference is we don't have a priest. We don't have someone who came from Chicago or anywhere else, or no police officer who turned good to save the day. It shows that there are grown people in the community. Even the
Yeah.
club owner, when they went to the club after one of the homies got shot. They went to the club, and the club owner was telling them, "Man, y'all got to stop." He says, "Man, let me show y'all how to make real money." He said, "I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna help you get rid of this car." But so it highlighted the fact that there are older people in the community who really want this to stop, and they do whatever they can with these youngsters to stop it, because that's never been shown. Boys in the hood, Minister Society. The one guy, what Trey had a father.
Yeah.
I
Right.
forgot his name, but yeah. But so
Lawrence
there's
Fishburne.
one. Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. So that's one individual, but it highlighted the fact that no one else had a father. There was no outstanding person who was showing, and so that's a stereotype that comes in our community, and
Yeah.
we had to stop that.
Do you feel like right now that you know I was fortunate to come from a home of structure, loving home, and I had a father that was that man was my best friend, and I loved dearly. Do you feel like it makes a big difference when that father is in place in the home, Skip?
Man, that is a major difference. That is reason number one. It has to be a healthy father, but obviously you had a healthy father. When there's a healthy father, and when I say healthy, I mean mentally, emotionally, spiritually healthy, because if there is a father in the home, I tell my children, my youngest boys, that all the time that, how will they learn to be a man? And it's by watching a man. And the man they should watch is me. So when they
Yeah.
do things right, they do things that are embarrassing for me at school. The first thing I do is I take them downtown LA and I tell them, I say, you see this spot right here, this empty spot in between tents? I could very easily go get a sleeping bag and a tent and I can embarrass you. I can
Mm.
be embarrassed. I said, would you want all your friends to see me out here riding a bicycle up and down Adams Boulevard and sleeping in a tent and smoking and drinking? And they said, no, no, they're embarrassed with the thought of me even saying it. So I said, well, how do you think I feel when the school calls me and tell me you did X, Y, and Z? So I think it makes a major difference that the
Yeah.
men be in the lives of their sons and their daughters. I think every daughter wants to be able to go to school and tell some little boy, if you touch me or say something else, I'm
My
gonna tell my
daddy.
dad.
That's
I'm gonna
it.
tell my daddy. Every
Yeah.
little girl should have the opportunity to say that.
Yeah.
So when
That's
we're
real.
not in the homes, we've robbed them of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every teacher should be able to go to every little boy and say, do it again, and I'm gonna call your daddy.
That's right.
So
That's
we
right.
cannot we cannot rob our children of the fact that the daddy is in jail or dead or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not there because of the relationship with the mother.
I served on the alumni board over at Crenshaw, and I spoke about this before. We had a parent conference meeting over there at back to school night, and this was like maybe 2 3 years ago. And Crenshaw is still pretty predominantly black. However, I will never forget. They had that back to school night, the same night that they were having a football game. And Skip, man, there were just a handful of African American parents that was up at the school for that back to school night. And we have so many foster kids now that are
Right.
going to school in the system, man, and it just seems, man, like it's almost seems like it's hopeless almost. I don't want to say I hate to use hopeless because I walk around here, man, with a bandage on my arm every day that says hope. And because I always feel as long as we have breath in our bodies that there's always hope. But man, in closing, man, how can we, even including myself, how can we try to bring structure into our community for our homes to be better? I drove up and down, in the neighborhood today, man. I go up and on Vernon and 48th and and Western, and man, I just look every time I look to the right, man. I'm just like, man, what has happened to us, man? So, man, what can we do before we leave this earth to make some positive changes? Or what do you think the solution is?
Man, I think I shared with it earlier that I think we all can't do the same thing, but we all can do something. And I think that the one thing we can't do is run from the children. We cannot be afraid of them. We cannot just turn this world over to them. I believe that we have to be in the room and guide them, man. I think what you just brought up of being a father, being a parent, and with so many of these children who are emancipated at 18, the foster parents aren't getting any money anymore. So now they're out on the streets by themselves. So we have to be careful and look at that. And, I mean, if nothing else, look at our children's friends and be there to help them as well. And when we're going somewhere to eat, 9 times out of 10, we tell our little Johnny, okay, tell your friend to go home because we're about to leave. But hey man, where's your friend going? Let me go meet their parents.
Yeah.
Would it be all right if they came to dinner with us, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Things of that nature, man. We have to embrace
That's
every
old.
child is mine. Every child is mine, man. And I
Yeah.
gotta,
Yeah.
I gotta treat them like that because I don't know if this child actually understands and know what loves is. So, when I go into the women's prison and so many of them have killed their husband,
Yeah.
the ones who are in there for murder, over 80% killed someone they loved, and over 50% it was their spouse, whether it was a male or female. And I
Yeah.
tell them all the time, how can I be in a relationship with someone and offer them love if I don't know what love is? If I've
Mm.
never been loved myself, most women think love is a Chanel bag. Most men think love is a motorcycle or a lowrider. So,
Mm.
if I don't really understand what love is, I can't give it to someone else. If I don't know what peace is, I can't give my peace to someone else.
Yeah.
So, only way to do it is if my child has a friend, let me embrace the friend. Let me see
Yeah.
what it is that they're lacking as well. Because as I change the mindset and the behavior of my son, if I put them back in the classroom with people who don't have that same mindset and behavior, they're going to influence my son.
That's
So
right.
let me be the influence. Let me influence that whole class.
That's
Matter of
right.
fact, let me spend some time at the school, and influence the school,
That's good, man.
So
That's
yeah,
good,
that's what
man.
it,
Well, Skip, listen, man. My last question for you, brother, is this, man. And man, listen, man. I could go on and talk to you for the rest of the night, man. But listen, my last question, brother. So after said and done, and you sitting up in the rocking chair, man, and the gray hairs are coming from every way but loose. How do you want your legacy to be? What kind of legacy do you want to leave, or that you want to leave for your kids and for the community of Los Angeles and the other communities that you are a part of?
Well, I don't know if you was talking about today because I'm sitting in this rocking chair right now, and I didn't shave this morning, or else it would be full of gray. So I don't know if you asking me what would I do later on tonight, or if you're talking about 15, 20 years from now. But anyway, what I want my legacy to be is where I've empowered the community. I don't want
Yeah.
to just educate them. I don't want to just open the door opportunities for them. Like I said, all those people going through the door, I don't want them just to have a job or a career. I want them to be in a position of power to help other people. So I want, just like if I said the Red Cross right now and said, well, who started that? Most people had to Google it or go look in encyclopedia and try to figure it out. But I want Second Call to be the same way. I want
Yeah.
to just open this door so wide that so many people are being helped, no matter what part of the country they're in, that they're getting this type of help. And it just becomes second nature. Like if somebody moves to a small town in Mississippi and the lady says, well, my husband isn't working and my son is acting a fool. And the first question is, where's the nearest Second Call? Let's get help for your husband to get to work and your son to get some help with tutoring and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah.
that's what I want the legacy to be, that my name only be attached to it in Google or encyclopedia, but so many people are taking this concept and run with it. That's really what I want. And I really want my children. So I have
Yeah.
12 children and none of them are employed because of Second Call. And that kills me that my son is a security guard and he could have been a carpenter 8 years ago and things of
Right.
that nature. So I want to also get my own children involved some kind of way so the legacy would live on with my name as well.
Well, man, listen, man. I like I said, man. I thank you so very much, Skip. Man, this has been fulfilling for me, and all I can do is just tell, just from conversating with you now, that everything that I've heard, hey, I can ditto to that. When a person starts talking about, you know, they want to do the work of God, you know, I don't even really have to ask too much more, because if you're doing it that way, it's always going to be successful. Of course, we're going to have some trials and tribulations that's going to come along that beaten path, but they say through our trials and tribulations, they only come to make us strong, man. And I can see the strength in you and with Second Call and what you're doing. And so, man, I just hope that you just keep this fight going. And I certainly want to be able to lend a hand and do a lot more than what I'm doing, because I believe that I've been put on this earth for a purpose. And my purpose is just not about James Finley, but it's also about helping others along the way. So, Skip, man, tell everybody, man, how to reach the organization and your social media platforms and all that other good stuff.
All right, so second call is really simple. It's the number two, NDCALL. So that's www.secondcall.org. And on Instagram, it's Second Call Wolfpack. And second is never spelled out. It's the number two, NDCALL Wolfpack on Instagram. And also on Facebook, we have a Second Call page. And we also have a Second Call, I don't know what it's called, but we have two platforms on Second Call on Facebook. So we're easy to find, real easy.
That's cool. And for those that want to get additional information for Skip's organization, Second Call, you can also visit the PICKASIDE.org website. We have some information regarding Skip, as well as his outstanding organization that he has. And anytime that I see someone in need, brother, you can rest assured that I will definitely be redirecting them over to your organization, man, to get whatever assistance that they need. So, my brother, man, thank you so very much, man. Hey, brothers for life, man. I certainly appreciate it. And if there's anything you need from me, man, you have my information. I am a phone call away. And whatever I can do for you, brother, I really appreciate you doing this, man.
Man, once again, thank you for allowing me to be here. Give thanks and love to Linda for me as well. And just appreciate what both of you are doing.
I certainly appreciate that. Hey, thank you so very much, Pick a Side Nation, for being a part of the podcast once again. As I always say in my podcast, as I leave you guys with this, always keep God first place in your life, and He'll take you places that you never dreamed of. Thank you so very much, Skiff. Have a great day. We'll catch you on the other side.